Hey guys, Shane here. Before we get started today, I want to ask you a quick favor. Please hit that subscribe button and give this podcast episode a share on social media so that we can help more families start, build, and grow a membership of their own. We appreciate that so much. Thank you for listening today. And now on to the podcast.
Hey y'all, on today's podcast, Shane is talking to one of our original community members, Brad Barrett. Brad was actually the first Flip Your Life community member we ever helped on the podcast way back on episode 23. He has come a long way. On today's show, Shane and Brad will chat about how Brad was able to quit his full-time job thanks to his online business, how a random message from a stranger led to Brad starting the Choose FI podcast, which is now downloaded over 1.4 million times every single month, and how he is bouncing back from the economic challenges brought on by the COVID pandemic. We know you are going to love this episode of the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. Now let's get started.
Welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast, where life always comes before work. We're your hosts, Shane and Jocelyn Sams. We're a real family that figured out how to make our entire living online. And now we help other families do the same. Are you ready to flip your life? All right, let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. It is great to be back with you again this week, and I'm super excited to be catching up with an old friend, an OG Flip Lifestyle, Flip Your Life universer on the show today, my good buddy, Brad Barrett. Brad, welcome back to the program, man.
Oh, Shane, it is a real pleasure. I'm so excited to be back. I can't believe it's been way too long.
Way too long. Now, let me tell you how OG you are. Okay, you're gonna laugh at this. So, I was doing some research, and you're only the second 3-time guest on the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. How about them apples? So that's rare air. You're up there with Jeanette Stein, rare air over here in the Flip Your Life Hall of Fame. And I was looking back, and the first time you ever came on the show was in December of 2014. Which in internet years is at least 100 years, right? And then that was episode 23. But here's what's amazing about that, and I didn't even realize this. That was, the format of this show is not interview the experts, right? It's always been our people, our community, the people that we're really helping. We're just having these conversations in public so that everybody can listen. And you were the first guest that we ever recorded with this format. Like, you were the first person to ever come on the show and do like a one-on-one with me and Jocelyn and us just jam about your business.
You're kidding me.
No, I didn't know that, because we had the idea around episode 15 or 16 to do this, right? So we reached out and we recorded a couple with 2 or 3 different couples, right? And you were the first one that we ever recorded. How about them apples?
Goodness, that is incredible. What a journey. And we'll go into this certainly in the next 45 minutes. But, December of 2014 is when I was still working at my corporate job as a CPA.
Yes.
I actually wound up leaving January 31st of 2015. That was my last day.
Yep.
And I wonder, I have to go back and listen to that episode, but I wonder if the genesis of the idea for Travel Miles 101, which was my second website, if that was even on the table at that point. Because
I don't know. I didn't look through I was glancing through the show notes here, and I was looking through that. We talked about like pricing a digital product, going through a digital product, using different monetization strategies, it looks like. And that was so long ago, dude.
Yeah, that's
it was
wild.
Unbelievable.
Well, let me fill the audience in real quick, just on that.
Go ahead.
Because,
tell everybody who you are, where you come from, what you do, because we're just going to talk.
No, that's great, and we can certainly get into what I'm up to now. But back then, so I had a little website called richmondsavers.com, with world's worst domain name. But I live in Richmond, Virginia. My wife and I save money, and that'll kind of come into the story here down the road, certainly. But we wound up kind of getting on the map for helping people use credit card rewards points to travel the world. And we'd put together a trip to Disney World for like $100 for our family of 4, and like the grandparents came and everybody came, and it wound up we got some press in the New York Times, which kind of changed everything for this tiny little website, Richmond Savers. And then I wound up kind of helping people one-on-one in like a hybrid of a real world and an online business, where people would come to my site. I would do this thing, free travel rewards coaching, where, I mean, Shane, I kid you not, like and you might even remember this, like I would get on the phone with people at my lunch hour.
Yeah, I remember this.
Right?
I remember talking about this.
And you probably thought I was nuts at the time.
I was like, what are you doing, man? You got a website. You talk the whole earth. You're talking one-on-one on phone calls, right?
And I mean, that helped inform like where I went. So, I mean, I proved out this business model, which at the time was, okay, people can sign up for credit cards. I can make an affiliate commission from that. And I can genuinely help people save money, right? But you can only scale one-on-one, right? You can only scale that so far, which is not very far at all. You know, that's kind of the punchline.
The hours you're allowed to speak while you're awake is pretty much it. and you still got to keep your kids alive and your wife happy during all that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you don't have too many hours, let's say. So around that time, around December, January, I had this idea to how can I scale this? So we wound up, and now in today's day and age, in July of 2020, this sounds elementary, but at the time in early 2015, a free course was somewhat novel. It was, for us, again, for people who listen to your podcast, it's just an email autoresponder. It's nothing special. Right. But back then, we put some, not artificial in the scammy way, but artificial scarcity around it in the sense that we didn't know how many people we could work with because we had a Facebook group, which was, again, novel back then.
Oh, yeah. Those had just started.
Right.
Nobody used Facebook groups in 2015.
No.
It just came out,
Yeah, it was wild. So, I mean, we were genuine. We were helping people. And then it was, okay, here are 200 or 300 that signed up the first month. And then March 1st, 2015, we had another 300 come through the course. And, we kind of eventually, you iterate, just like anything in online business. You iterate, you figure out what works, you figure out, hey, we had this idea for this scarcity, but it didn't make sense. It wasn't an actual scarcity issue. So we opened it up. We used to have it only on one day a month, and we realized that was stupid. Also, nobody wanted to wait 27 days from when they signed up to get their email autoresponder. So long story short, we were able to scale this. And I think as of now, we put over 50,000 people through that course.
It's amazing.
Which is pretty wild. So yeah, travel.
And back then we were not all in on memberships back in that time. Like we were really invested in the course model and in digital courses at the time. Actually, Flip Lifestyle or the Flip Your Life community was the Flip Your Life e-course. That was our fancy name for it when we first started out. And around 2015, probably after January, is when we really went all in. Like we figured out, like, wait a minute, we're selling memberships. We're just doing it every month. We're just having open and closed carts, right? And we did the same thing. We were like, let's open this up like into a membership. And I remember talking to you about specifically like, hey, you've just got to get people to opt in for the course and they will go and sign up for the credit card because you teach it in the course. That's how you did it, right? And that's where the affiliate links, like I remember having this conversation somewhere along the way.
No, we definitely did. Yeah, and you were an instrumental help. So obviously, many years later, thank you.
Many years later. Yeah, well, you actually sent me, I remember you sent me a video sometime, I don't remember when it was. You sent me a video, and it's one of my favorite stories that I tell everybody about online business, like period. Like I don't even care, like memberships is what we teach, but like online business is what we're all about because the internet and making money online and being able to reach out to anybody on earth is how you really can set your family free, And I will never forget, setting goals and talking to people about goals. And you used to say that you just wanted to pick your kids up off the school bus. I will never forget you telling me this. And I was like, man, if I could help that guy pick his kids up off the school bus, like that's an awesome goal, right? Yeah. And you came back on in episode 72, and it was after you had sent me this video, and you were like, dude, I get to pick my kid up off the school bus. And I remember like hearing you say that in that video and talking to you about it. And man, to this day, it still about makes me want to cry because that's such a worthy goal. And like, that's really why we all do what we do on the internet, right now is to have that control, have that freedom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I certainly do. And yeah, that's a chill inducing moment. Honestly, thank you for bringing that back up. And yeah, it's been just a hell of a journey. It's been
now, your wife also, does she work still or did she quit her job too?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So everybody quit. Just everybody quit their job.
Everybody quit. Yep. We were both CPAs and it just wasn't the lifestyle that we wanted. That's for
all right.
sure.
So now let me fast forward. Okay. Cause we got the backdrop. We got the journey through the flipped lifestyle universe and out the other side and picking kids up off school buses and all that. But You're not just Brad Barrett. You're the Brad Barrett. Like you and a buddy of yours, like you went out and started this podcast, right? And I want to talk a little bit more about that and see what's going on with that. And I want you to keep me up to speed on what's happening. But you have a podcast called Choose FI, right?
Yeah.
So one, tell me what it is. And two, and all our listeners, if they've not heard of it, which is probably not true. And then tell us like what you guys like do. How did that start? Do you still have Richmond Savers, or did it just morph into this Choose FI thing? Like where are you at today?
Cool. Yeah. So a lot has certainly happened over the last couple of years. It's that's what's wild about this online business journey. You never know where it's going to take you. You never know where that one connection or that one podcast appearance or whatever it may be is going to turn into something life-changing. And that's actually what happened to me. I was a guest on a popular. So okay, let's actually talk about Choose FI. So that's FI stands for financial independence, and this kind of leads into where the background story here. But financial independence is basically trying to get to a point where working is optional. Now, this is not let's sit and be unproductive or just sip on umbrella drinks on a beach all day. You could do that if that's your thing, obviously. But it's about getting to a point where you have freedom and autonomy and control over your life and your most precious resource, which is your time. Right? Mm-hmm. That is what this is all about. I think so many people look at saving money as deprivation or akin to like a diet, short-termism. And we've reframed that entirely. And Shane, it comes back to, a lot of, I want to be there when my kids get off the bus, right? Like a lot of it comes back to, what do you want out of life? I don't imagine most people want to be working 40, 50, 60 hours a week in a 9-to-5 and kind of mollifying themselves with fancy cars and fancy houses. Like I don't genuinely think that's what most people are looking for, but I don't think most people have taken a step back and tried to design their life in a sense that works for them. Not to do what society says or not to keep up with the Joneses or their buddy in the next town, right? Like that's sadly what a lot of people do, but they do it unconsciously because they don't know there's a better way. And I think financial independence and this entire movement is what has changed my life and changed so many other people's lives. So, it's important to, let's just, I wanted to take a minute there and talk about that. But the story is, and how this whole thing started is I was on a financial independence podcast, one of the very few at that time. This was 2016. I was talking about credit card rewards points, right? I wasn't in the FI world. I was the credit card rewards points guy. This guy, Jonathan, this random listener named Jonathan, heard me on this podcast that he listened to. And he's like, oh, wow, this guy, Brad, lives in Richmond, Virginia. He's into credit card rewards points and he's into FI. And this guy, Jonathan's like, wow, I am into all three of those things too. I live in Richmond.
Oh, he lived in Richmond when he heard your podcast?
Yeah, for real. And he
that's amazing.
Isn't that insane? Like that's is insane. The genesis point of everything that has happened thereafter. And he reached out to me, just a cold email. He's like, hey, let's go grab lunch. And if you've ever heard the Choose FI podcast, Jonathan is like the most excitable human being on earth. Like he's crazy. He talks a mile a minute. Like he's wonderful. But imagine that coming at you at this lunch. And he had this idea for starting a website. And now, Shane, lots of people have ideas, right? Yeah. Plenty of people have ideas. They may have spent months thinking about it. But what % of people actually take action?
Oh, yeah.
It's far, far smaller. So, what I randomly, and now keep in mind, this is a random guy off the street. We had a nice lunch, but that was it, right? 3 months later, he kind of popped into my mind. I'm like, I wonder whatever happened to that dude. Like, did he ever start that site? So I shot him a quick text message basically saying, hey man, did you ever start that site? I'd love to see it. And he said that one little line text message, that one little bit of accountability that someone else cared. He said it was like a lightning bolt to him because you know what? He hadn't done a damn thing, unsurprisingly.
You're kidding me. And so you accidentally motivated this guy.
Accidentally motivated him. So that day, I kid you not, he bought ChooseFI.com. He furiously wrote a couple articles just to prove to me that he had done something, backdated amazing. Them and all this stuff. And then he's like, I want to pitch you on something. Let's grab coffee. He came up with this idea. Hey, let's start a podcast. It was December, I think at that point, December of 2016. There's the bar to entry is so low on podcasting.
Oh yeah.
Let's just see what happens. It's going to cost us a couple $100 for equipment at most. We can get hosting for whatever it was, $10 a month at Libsyn or $20 a month. And, there's no downside. Let's see. We don't think there's a ton of competition in the FI space. And most importantly, there's a need for this. There's a yearning for a more frequent podcast in the FI community. And, I said yes. I mean, I had so many other things going on with, those two websites that you asked about before, like, are they still in existence? They are. And, in all honesty, they kind of run on autopilot at this point. But
that is the goal.
That is the goal.
Scale what you can batch, baby. Yeah, Scale what you can batch.
And, I learned that from you guys also. So it's, it's cool to see this all kind of come full circle. But, so I guess we launched our podcast in January of 2017.
That's unbelievable, dude. And like I was writing down notes here. One, financial independence, I mean, is so important. Like it actually probably is a core principle of what we would call the flipped lifestyle. Like, because if you can't, money is a resource. And if you don't control the resource, not just earn the resource, that's not what we're talking about. Because I get the vibe that financial independence to you means more like it's beyond just the Dave Ramsey save money, don't go into debt thing. It's like, no, control, like have control over your finances, like have control over your wealth, because that's what gives you time freedom, right? Most of the people that I know with time freedom have control over their financial resources. And when you have time freedom, you get to do the things that you want, whether it's pursue a charity, do another business, go sit on the beach with the, cocktail, whatever it is. Like, money makes the mission possible. Is that
absolutely? And
that's what Choose FI is really about, right?
That is exactly it. It's about living a better life.
Yeah,
it ultimately is, and we think
the life you think is better, that you define as better, not just
absolutely
that you want to be better.
Absolutely, and that comes in all shapes and sizes and all forms, right? Like we like to say, there's nothing that makes you a card carrying member of the FI community. If you I know I kind of ragged on fancy cars and fancy houses, but if that's your thing and you value it, then go out and buy it. That's great, but do it with eyes wide open. I think don't do it if it's going to all be taken from you in 7 months. Right.
That's
what's coming from that.
Right. Exactly. And that's why we say, I actually got harassed by this dude one time. Like, he was just calling me a loser and like saying, that you're an enabler and you keep people like, you don't help anybody with your mentality. Like, it was unbelievable. This was public on a Facebook post. And what it was because one of the things that we say all the time is, hey, we'll help you get 100 people to pay you $50 a month and make $60,000 a year. I hate to tell everybody listening, that's the median income of the United States. And for most people, that would set you free. If you could create 60 grand of revenue for yourself or get 200 people to pay you 50, now it's 120, you're making enough money to make choices. And that's what financial independence, the flipped lifestyle, all that really is what we're trying to do, is enable people to make choices. You can grow it to $1 million. All you need is 1,000 people paying $85 a month to make $1 million a year, right? So you can grow it to $1 million, or you can choose the way you want to live. Maybe you don't want to put in the 80 hours a week like a Gary Vee, and you want to pick your kids up off the school bus, so you're happy in that 60 to 120 or whatever range, And actually, people probably don't know this, but like if you look at our logo, either for Membership Masters or Flip Lifestyle, there's an arrow. And one side of the arrow points up and one side points down. And the reason that we have that arrow in our logo is because we all make choices. That's it. That's why the arrow exists. That's why it's in all of our logo and in all of our branding. And really, we don't publicize that. It's private to us is what we mean by that, But it's all your choice. But you can't choose without the cash. You just can't in this day and age.
It's true. No, it's a force multiplier. It really is. It's the thing that makes everything else easier in your life. When you aren't stressed, think about how many people I know in our real lives that are just stressed with money all the time, right?
Yeah.
And if you can just make some little decisions, even even if getting to financial independence sounds like a pipe dream, well, what's it like that first time you have $1,000 in the bank, $2,000, $5,000? Could you imagine like $10,000 in the bank? Think about how much less stress you have. Think about
or if you pay off your house,
right?
What if you didn't have a mortgage payment? How would that feel when the world is ending all around us and there's pandemics and there's rioting and the economy? But you know what? My house is paid off. Like and I don't care if it's a little house or a big house. I'm not talking about a mansion. Like that's where true freedom comes from. And that's kind of like knowing, like, I love that word independence in what you all are doing. It really, like, I almost wish I had stole that word independence because like independence is like you get to choose what that looks like. It's not you're independently wealthy compared to all of the rest of humanity. It's financial independence. You know, I get to choose what I want to go accomplish. I get to choose how I make money. I get to choose, you know, how far I want to push this thing. And that's just a really, really amazing mission. And one thing we also talk about here at Flip Lifestyle, and this is for everybody listening to this podcast, is ripples. You know, I actually keep this rock on my desk. Can you see that?
Yeah.
On the camera. So on one side, this rock says flip your, and on the other side, it says life. Okay. And I keep this rock like right in front of me all the time. So every time I sit down at my desk, I've got to look at this rock, right? So there's a quote by Mother Teresa, which I've said here on the podcast a few times. And a reporter asked her, do you really think this little woman in the middle of nowhere, can change the world? Do you really think that? And he was kind of mocking Mother Teresa when he said that. And Mother Teresa laughed at him and said, no, I don't think I can change the world alone, but I can pick up my stone and cast it out upon the waters and cause many ripples. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, I'm just a knucklehead from Southeast Kentucky. I started my podcast, talk to you, then you go you go onto a podcast. You didn't even have another podcast. Your ripple hits somebody. You pick your stone up and throw it. It hits what's your partner's name again? Jonathan. You hit him as a listener, and he picked his stone up and threw it back at you. Yeah. Y'all are throwing rocks at each other for 3 months. You know what I mean? And then you text him back. That starts this podcast, and now you two are out there crushing it. Like, how many people? Like, I know you've got thousands of reviews on. I mean, you're reaching a huge audience with your podcast.
Yeah.
Every single month.
It's been crazy. I think, Shane, I think we hit about almost 1.4 million downloads last month, which...
Jesus, man. That is unfreaking real. Like, look at all because you decided to flip your life. All because you decided to do something online. Yeah. Like, scale. Like, what? Like, that's not a bad thing. Like, and now, and just talking. Like, we talk. That's what we do, Brad, for a living. We sit in front of these microphones and we talk.
It's mind-blowing. And I mean, I don't know about you, I suspect you're probably a little bit different than me here, but I always had this limiting belief that I'm this introvert. I am not great in social situations, all these kind of limiting beliefs. And now, to your point, like, I talk for every day. I talk as my job. Right? I talk as my passion. Like, I am... for some, from a random, as you can tell, this random little spare bedroom in my house here in Richmond, Virginia, you talk about ripples, right? It's impacting the world in a very positive way. And it's pretty amazing. So this, we kind of realized very early on that while there's something about me and Jonathan that people like listening to us for whatever
I think
reason.
You've got that yin and yang, because like me and Jocelyn have the same thing. Yeah. Like when we're ever in an interview together, like Jocelyn's like she's the salt and I'm the pepper. You can use a lot of salt, but pepper, you have to calm that down. Shane, calm down. You know what I mean? And like and then it kind of plays off of each. You get both perspectives of the introvert. Introvert doesn't mean shy. It just means you draw energy from quiet and being alone sometimes, right?
Yeah. No, and
you can control that with podcasting.
Yeah, no, you absolutely can. And I've overcome those kind of ridiculous limiting beliefs, clearly. But, we realize that the world runs on stories. It just does. People, especially at the beginning, it was people would connect with, I see myself in Brad, or I see myself in Jonathan, down to, I am much more conservative with my money, naturally frugal. Jonathan's a big spender, but he realizes that this is for the greater good. It's for living a better life. And then, we quickly realized again that this couldn't be limited by us. It couldn't be limited by our world experiences, by our knowledge, by our opinions. It had to be a community. And I think that was
my favorite word,
right? Like that was the aha moment, Shane. And I mean, changed everything. And now ChooseFI, while ostensibly Brad and Jonathan are the host of this and et cetera, like this is a worldwide community. And I mean, what we've done now, we started just a regular Facebook group. And I think we have 70,000 people in there now, which is pretty wild. But most importantly, we have ChooseFI local groups.
Dude, I was looking at that. You've got a map on your website, and it's all these pins are like all over the world, right?
Yeah, those are legit. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Those are where people just meet up in person? Listen to your
for
podcast
real. Like those are in 300 cities throughout the world. I think it's 30 plus countries. There are ChooseFI local groups for that city or country or town, whatever it may be. And, you know, people connect obviously via this Facebook group, but yeah, it's in real life meetups. So, I mean, I flew out to Omaha, Nebraska a bunch of years ago for the Berkshire Hathaway annual event. And I actually attended the very first ChooseFI Omaha meetup, and the admin of that group, because it's this autonomous kind of diverse group of little local groups, right? Like we're not heavy-handed as ChooseFI headquarters or anything like that. It's
pay your dues,
right?
It's not CrossFit.
No. It's certainly not. And you know, he emailed me about a month ago saying they've already had 13 meetups in 2020. Even with COVID, they've had online Zoom meetups. Like they are a real community, and that's just one of many. Like my family went to, and this is not about me, obviously, but I you know, the only ones that I've been to are when we go on vacation. So we went to Maui. We met up with the ChooseFI Maui group. We went to Edinburgh, Scotland, and London. We had 100 people show up at a pub on the Thames in London. And I mean, it's remarkable how, I mean, people.
And it all started because you wanted to pick your daughter up off the bus.
Right, dude? Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy, man. You know?
And I mean, as you know, people are craving community. They are. And, you know, especially with this financial independence lifestyle, like it's kind of sad that it's countercultural, because it shouldn't be, right? Like living a better life, having some space financially, like these shouldn't be revolutionary things, right? But they are. So you get that comfort level by seeing other people do this in real life. We have people who have started businesses from these groups. You know, they met someone, they went into a real estate investment, or they found some contact, right? Like, or frankly, they just met friends who they now play board games with or have potluck dinners with. And again, that is now spreading all throughout the world. And it's amazing that, you know, one little podcast from two middle-class guys in Richmond, Virginia.
Two random dudes who one heard other one on a podcast.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's bizarre, man. Yeah. And but it's amazing though, that word, I think what you've stumbled upon is probably what we preach the most. And people ask us all the time, like about like, oh, I want to start a subscription or whatever. And I'm like, well, we don't teach subscriptions. What we do works for subscriptions, but subscriptions is a commodity. You sign up for your cable subscription, you know, like you buy something, but like, we always use the word membership. That's an actual core value, cultural decision in our company to use the word membership instead of subscription, because it implies community, right? And that's what we believe sustains most podcasts, YouTube channels, online businesses, is the people who come into a membership are invested in that community, right? And I'm the same way as you. Like, I don't want it to ever be about Shane and Jocelyn. It's about, like, we're like the Knights of the Round Table. Like, we just happen to be sitting in the chair that gets to talk first. You know what I mean? And like, it's all about that community. It's all about helping each other. It's all about, none of us have a monopoly on these good ideas, and we're all here to help each other sort through our own variables and situations so that we can build the life that we want for our family and change our family tree and all those things. And I just absolutely love the fact that the community has risen. It's awesome, but some people don't see that, Brad. And y'all need to give yourself some credit, because like, community actually is another thing that sets you free. I think people get scared to lead communities because they don't feel like a leader, or they've got that limiting belief, right? But when you have a community and not just a list, when you have a community and not just people who listen to you because you have guests on or whatever, that's really another thing that makes your business thrive and gives you opportunities to pivot. And let you try things to help your family better themselves is because you've got this group of people that are like, yo, I love what you're doing and I want to be a part of that. And then when the community has its own energy and dynamo, like you're explaining right now, see, a lot of people, I think, try to position themselves as this like general in front of the troops. And that's not what a community is. A community should eventually take itself over, and they should talk, and you can't be threatened by that. There might be leaders that rise up and start their own versions of your podcast. There might be people who take your ideas and change it a little or run with it and do something really cool somewhere else. And you want that. That's what happens when you have a great community. Is they start meeting up locally. They start Voxer groups where they talk to each other. They start their own Facebook groups. You know what I mean? And like that's really like what you're looking for, because when that happens, you will really change the world, because your ripples then they pick up their stones and they cause ripples like you and Jonathan did. You know what I mean? And then who knows what could happen? And all that ripple is eventually going to hit. It's going to go around the world and hit you back. That's what's really cool. Right? Like when someone tells you, hey, we started this group. Oh, God, that makes me feel good, you know? And it's just, and when you create, community should be your number one goal with any online business. I don't care if you have a paid membership or not. That's what's going to make it work, you know?
Yeah. I mean, people want to feel like they're part of something, right? We're so disconnected, even though in this social media world, like you think, oh, we're connected, but we're really not. We're craving connection. We're craving real connections, right? And to your point, we're not threatened by anybody stepping up. We love it, right? Like we look at it as there is a finite limit to how much Brad and Jonathan know, right? And
or could ever
want it. Like the biggest benefit of having this community is the rising tide lifts all boats scenario, right? And we've said this, it's not just kind of lip service. We say this is the crowdsourced personal finance show. And, it could sound cliche, but we have taken that as a central part of what we do. Is there are hundreds of thousands of people listening to the show. And if we can get them to send us their best tips, their little hack that just made their life better, even if it's small, right? We talk about getting 1% better. It's the aggregation of marginal gains, which is a fancy way of saying just try to get 1% better.
Yeah.
In everything you can, you're going to be blown away by the compounding effect of that, right? When you have hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people sending you their best stuff, we're all going to get better, right? We can't be threatened by it. We can't be threatened that, oh, they're smarter than me. No, it's wonderful that some brilliant Harvard professor, we have professors at all these amazing schools. Like, that's one stupid example, but like they're writing in with their best tip,
that dude's been around the block, y'all. Right. He's researching this stuff on purpose. He's at Harvard. Right?
And he listens to me, some bozo, off the street, talk about living a better life.
But it's the conversation he's craving. It's not that he listens to you because you're this, I've seen everything, I've done everything. It's people are craving that conversation. Like when you sit and listen to a podcast, it's like you're in the room with people. Like that's what people really want, And when you are open about it coming back to you from these people, that's when now your podcast isn't just a radio show. It's something, or your YouTube channel, or your blog, or however anybody creates content. It's the same concept here. It's like turning comments off on your blog. Like, I don't know why people do that. Like, I know they're scared of hate and all that stuff, and like people are crazy, but like, gosh, don't close off the conversation with your people, because you need that back and forth, or you're going to get stale. You know what I'm saying? And you're not going to be able to serve and deliver and learn and grow and do all those things with your community.
Yeah, totally. And with our particular community, they feel like they've found this secret to life. Like that's one of the cool things about FI is it feels like you're just winning at life. And, I know my wife, Laura, and I have become so much closer just because we feel like we're on this, life is almost a game. Like we're living the same middle or even upper middle class lifestyle as everybody else around us. But yet we have all this time freedom. We obviously have financial resources. We can spend time with our kids and see them grow up. Like we have all these things, and it just stems from making a couple of intentional decisions over a medium term period of time, right? Like not 50 years, and certainly not get rich quick. It's not a year or two, but
no, get rich slow, baby. Be the glacier, not the prairie fire. I don't want it to look cool and then be gone.
Yeah,
you know,
the Lamborghinis, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I don't want to lay here on my Lamborghini and then they tow it away 3 years later. Let's talk about monetization real quick, because I know we were going to have one thing. I always tell everybody that comes on the show, even people like we've had some people achieve some crazy things. Like you're definitely, dude. I love watching you from afar. Like it blows my mind. Like it really like to see like when I looked at that map last night, I was like, look at this. We need a map. Where's our map, Jocelyn? That's what I told her. I said, we need a map. One thing that I actually just learned something that I've never really thought of from our conversation here is like the structure is create content, build a community that pays you, serve them. That's what we do. Like to make our business. Let's look at the business side, right? But what I'm really seeing is like it's the monetization of community, not in a bad way. People get to that. I don't want. We got a community. Let's milk them dry, right? Like that's not what we're talking about here. It's like you have to monetize your community. If they don't pay you, you have to not have money to feed your family, so you can't serve them, right? So like, how has Choose 5 been monetized? Now I know that like your old model was, at Richmond Savers was get an audience, teach them this method of going to Disney World for free or whatever, right? So you got this community, you're teaching them for free, and then there's an affiliate-based monetization strategy where you're, okay, well, these credit card companies, if, this is how I do this, they're not going to go in debt. I'm going to teach them how to do this and pay it off and just get the points. But I do get a commission when I sell one of these things. It's a lot like Pat Flynn's model. He does a lot of courses now too, but Pat Flynn was affiliates. That's how he built his whole business, build a lot of traffic, get a big audience, recommend products that you actually love and actually use so that you can get an affiliate commission off of that. Is that how you've built Choose FI as well? Is that how you've done the monetization there?
Yeah. And it's funny how you describe that as almost verbatim how I would describe it as well, which is become a trusted resource and add value constantly, right? Like people can tell when you're just trying to hawk a product. They just can. I mean, I don't know. We are very social animals and we can sniff that out from a mile away, right? You know it when you listen to your own podcasts or, other podcasts you listen to, right? Or blogs you read. You can tell when people are being authentic versus inauthentic. And I think people have come to trust us because, we're in their ear now 3 times a week for an hour each time. And, they know us. They know and trust us. They know that we're talking about the ups in our lives, the downs in our lives. We're radically transparent about, what's going on. And I think that kind of goes back to what we were saying before about the experts, right? Like nobody's really looking to have someone pontificate about their brilliant expertise, right? Like we're looking for examples. We're looking for just being able to connect with people. Right. And I think, part of getting an audience is being authentic, right? And opening yourself up to the good and the bad in your life. So I think that has helped engender trust with, both Jonathan and myself. And
when you recommend something,
they know it's coming from
this is for real,
Absolutely. So, how you describe Pat's model is very similar to what we've done, which is there are very few products that we do recommend, but when we do, we talk about how they've impacted our lives. It's still, the credit cards are certainly a big aspect of it. We have certain different investing platforms like M1 Finance and Personal Capital to track your financial life, but none of those things cost people anything, right? It's just a win-win. That's how I've always looked at this. If we can provide value and you can sign up for something for free and we can get an affiliate commission, okay, that's a win all around.
Or you were gonna do it anyway. Like if it's something like, well, you're gonna start a website, you might as well use the one we do or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We've never really went down that affiliate rabbit hole hard. I think our model was just really radically different, especially when we started back in 2014. Like the way we were building Flipped Lifestyle, like from your podcast, actually it was episode 23 is when we stopped doing solos and started talking to people who we were already talking to, right? Like that kind of pushed us away from affiliate marketing. I think it was interesting, and we've dabbled in it. Like there's been like, wow, we really like this product, like, so we've got a link to it somewhere on our website or something like that. But recently we started really promoting Kajabi, right?
Okay.
Because over the 2019, I was really looking for a way to help people start a membership site that wasn't so complicated. Like I've got employees, I've got people help. I don't know anything about Infusionsoft or WordPress. I just pay people because I would break it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But we always tried to, here's how to do WordPress. Here's how to do the play. It was so complex. It took people a month to even set up a website, right? And I was looking for something that would be like, what if someone could start a membership site in a month, in a weekend? And I tried everything. I tried Kajabi. I tried ClickFunnels. I tried Kartra. I tried, you name it. If it can be plugged into WordPress, I tried it. Nice. I tried. I bought everything. I spent my money. I said, I'm doing it. I'm going to figure this out. I found Kajabi, and in 3 days, I launched a paper newsletter. We actually mail a paper newsletter to. It's called Membership Masters, our subscribers. Wow. No, it's like this is legit. I got a commercial printer. We talk about tangent. I got a commercial printer in my other office in here, and we have a big conference table, and the kids pack it. I'm paying my kids to learn the business, right? Because we were outsourcing it, and I was like, this is stupid. Like we could do this ourselves. It costs $300 a month to rent a commercial printer that folds and staples, and it's a paper newsletter. We can get all the resources, and what a great chance for the kids to learn how to be a part of the business. So one day a month, we have a print day, and we just mail this out to all of it's a family thing, So anyway, that's it.
So hold on, continuing with that tangent.
Back to Kajabi. Yeah.
So with that tangent, I have to put on my FI hat and say, so if your kids have earned income, you got to put money in a Roth IRA for them.
No. Let me hold on. You ready for a tip here? Look up Family Management Company. Family Management Company.
Okay.
So there's this tax vehicle that was originally set up for farmers. Okay. And it was so farmers could actually hire their children legally, right? Because farmers would have like 8 kids, they'd all be on the payroll. Nobody knew who was paying taxes where, and they were paying one kid $12,000 and one kid, the government was like, God, we don't even know how to tax this, right? So the old way, you could just be like, make as much as you want with your farm, pay your kids, and they'll pay taxes, right?
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
So they created these. It's a thing called a family management company, where the family management company runs the employment of your family, and it's a separate entity set up. Like I'm the president of the family management company. So, and then we have a contract with the kids. The kids are on YouTube and do other things. So and it has to be real work. You can't be like, take out the trash, do the dishes. That's not part of it, right? But what you can do, but then what you do is, in a nutshell, again, legal disclaimer here, not an accountant, not a lawyer, just telling you what people told me. So you pay the family management company, then the family management company pays them, and then you choose the tax bracket that you want your kids to be in. So it's an amazing way for someone who's a high income earner to be able to, one, pay your children for actually doing work. But then my kids write checks for cheerleading lessons, and they have their own checkbooks, right? They've got their own, it says Isaac and Anna on it, and that way they can learn all of these resources. They can learn how to use money. They can learn how to work, but that money, it's an expense. You pay for their labor. Yeah. They can make up to whatever, be fair with it and be true. But like that's a different tax. That money's taxed at a different bracket than what you're taxed at.
That is wild.
I don't understand it. My accountants do, and I just trust them that it's good. But there's a book called the Tax and Legal Playbook that explains it. If anybody wants to go check that book out, so we're learning here.
Yeah, for real. I love it. This is what we're talking about. Rising tide lifts all boats.
Rising tides, baby. Rising tides. So what was I talking about? Oh, Kajabi. Yeah. So I created this thing, and I launched it, and I did a 50-person beta group at $100 a pop. Sold it out in the first day. So within 4 days, now granted, I've got an audience that's, but the tool itself, I started on Friday, sent the email on Monday, had it sold out by Tuesday. And I was like, oh my gosh, I found a tool that lets me build a website, grow an email list, set up pipelines and sales funnels. And I've got plenty of data to look at to see if it's working. Buy Kajabi, connect it to Stripe, you're done. And so when I discovered this, we tried it. We kept using it for 6 more months. I did not just go into this without vetting it. And now we're 12 months into the Membership Masters newsletter. It's been 100% ran on Kajabi since last year. And about a month ago, we started saying, you know what? We're going to stop recommending WordPress and stuff, and we're going to go all in on Kajabi. We became Kajabi partners because we want to make an affiliate relationship with them if we're going to recommend their product, right?
Sure.
And but the day I told the first group in a member call to use Kajabi, we had 20 people sign up on our affiliate link. And the moral of that story is, wow, Shane and Jocelyn never say anything unless it's true. Like that's pretty much what our audience, they've never recommended a product like this before. Why are they doing this now? If it's because we spent 6 years building that trust and building that community and putting in the effort and not chasing the best affiliate commission, not chasing the best deal. It's like you said, use things that you really use. And if you do that, it can be an amazing way to monetize. I mean, because if you recommend a product and people trust you and you got enough traffic, boom, you're getting paid. Yeah, right?
Without a doubt. And people want to support you, right? When you're providing value to them, to your point before, like they might have been Googling it anyway, right? But if you were providing it to them in an easier format, in an email or whatever it may be, and they want to support you, they're going to click your link if there's no disincentive. So yeah, sure. I mean, it's win-win all around.
Yeah. Now this year has been different for all of us in the world because, like starting with all the madness when it broke out in March, like, dude, I was in California on March like 1st or 2nd. I went to a conference out there. It was called Born to Write by Stephen Azul from Authors Who Lead. And it was about writing a book because I wanted to write a book this year. And I'm in the airport coming home and people are freaking, like they're showing China. The first cases were in Washington and California. I'm literally like sitting in an airport. I'm texting Jocelyn. I'm like, do you think she was going to Mexico that week for a trip with her mastermind? And I was like, do you think you should go? Like, what's going on? And she's like, yeah, let's just go. I'm like, all right, cool. And then by the time she got back, I was like, get back. This is crazy. Get back in the United States. And like by the 15th, things started shutting down. By April 1st, I mean, I remember Governor Bashir came on and I was sitting there watching his report and he said, I want you guys to ask your children to leave the room right now because the next few things that we say are going to be very hard to hear. And I was like, and I knew right then that life was not going to be the same. I was like, no politician, no governor would say that. And then the first words out of Andy Bashir's mouth were, the next few words that I say are going to make some of you unemployed. We're going to take care of you. We're going to do everything we can to make this right, but it has to be done. And that's when the world shut down for 2 months, like completely. And so, of course, at that moment, as a business owner, I mean, my heart goes out to the 40 million people who actually had jobs and employment that they thought were secure and they lost them, Yeah. And then at the same time, I'm like, man, I got to figure out what I'm going to do in my business, right? So I'm sure you and Jonathan had those same conversations as soon as everything started. Like, what does this mean for us and affiliates in our business model? Like, how did that go? What did you think when that first started out? And I guess the big picture view is we're not really talking about coronavirus here, y'all. We're talking about crisis mode. Like financial independence, living the flip lifestyle doesn't mean you're free from stress and worry. Like you still run a business. So like, how did that affect you guys? Like,
yeah. I mean, that's a really good lead up. It's, it's impacted everybody, right? It impacted you guys. It certainly impacted us. Even businesses that could never have imagined that they'd be impacted, right? I think about my buddy who is an orthodontist here and just opened up a practice in the last couple of years, right? Like you think that's as recession proof of a business. People are always going to need braces.
People have teeth.
Right.
I mean, right.
But not if they can't get to the orthodontist or it's closed, right? Like it's been staggering to see how quickly, obviously this is such an obvious statement, but how quickly the world changed and how it impacted everybody, right? Like we thought with this, massive audience and, a bunch of different affiliate programs that we would be okay. We always figured there are fallback plans, right? Like you think about, and part of FI is being somewhat conservative with your money and having plans, right? Like, and that's how my mind works also. Like I was thinking, this was a year ago, like if this program ended, we could always give keynote speeches or something, like,
and then there's no events
and then, right. No events anywhere in the world, right? Like literally every single plan we had was just blown off the face of the map.
Like, everybody always like, one of your big goals in life, like if you're financially successful, your goal is to get 6 months of living expenses. I mean, that's a great goal for any family, anybody. And it's easy to figure out how much do you spend each month as your basics and times it by 6. Wow, what a great goal, And then you get your thing and on the news they're like, yeah, this is going to last 2 years. Well, Well, I've only got enough money for 6 months, and you just shut down my orthodontist office. Like, it's just like there's no planning for something like that.
No, it's impossible, right? Like, you can't plan for 95% of your revenue to go away. It's almost, I mean, when it's a pretty diverse stream of revenue, like that just wasn't in the disaster planning. So what do you have to do? You have to figure it out, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this is part of being a business owner. You have to pivot. You have to maybe consider doing things that in the perfect world, which frankly doesn't exist anymore, right? This is not February, right? It's not.
It's not yesterday, right? Which is pretty much what it feels like.
It's insane, right? So like fast. That world doesn't exist anymore, and you can't pine away for it. It simply isn't there. You can waste mental energy worrying about something or wishing that it could come back, but it's not coming back anytime soon, right? Mm-hmm. And you need to figure it out. So, I mean, one thing that we've done, which we didn't intend on ever doing, based on the model that we had, was putting ads on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And and
that's a hard, like, I respect you for bringing that up, because it's one thing we have truly resisted with the Flip Lifestyle podcast for the same reasons. Like, there's a lot that goes into ads. Like, when you sell ads, it's not just you're selling someone an ad. You're entering into a partnership and a relationship, and you're saying, hey, we're going to believe in your company to introduce you to the audience. And then we're going to trust you not to screw up that relationship as you serve these customers. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal
to decide to put ads on a podcast, man.
Yeah. And that was something that I just, as a podcast listener, had hoped that we would never have to do. But, frankly, like, we have a mission. We have a team that we support, right? Like, first, that's one of the big aspects.
Somebody's paying rent.
Yeah,
because you give them money every month to serve these people. Like,
and they've put their faith in us, as Choosify, as their employers, I mean, they're contractors, but, we have a responsibility to those people. These are world-class people who have come to work for us and who are doing great things. I think that's the most important. Like, it comes back to furthering this mission, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not about me and Jonathan getting wealthy. Like, that's the nice thing. I'm already at FI. Like, this is not about me getting wealthy. This is about how can we make the best decisions for our team and for the community and furthering this message, right? And for us, it very clearly was, we have to pivot and do things that again, we would not like to do in a perfect world. And, it's been an all hands on deck scenario where, previously we were doing 2 podcasts a week. And we ramped it up to 5, not for ad purposes. We weren't putting ads on that at that point, but it was just, how can we provide value? During that crisis in, mid-March and April, like, we were at 5 episodes a week, and now we've settled on 3. I personally am doing 2 Facebook Lives every single week. We're doing a Wednesday night and a Saturday. I'm writing like a weekly email akin to like a Tim Ferriss 5 Bullet Friday. And like,
I do 5 Fails Friday.
Oh, that's cool.
Every Friday I write, well, it's about every other Friday. I don't do it every week because the fails got to add up, so they're spectacular. And then, but I send it out, and it's my most opened email by far. I'm just like, here's 5 things I screwed up in my marriage, my business, my parenting. I just talk about it, I do that all the time. But you've ramped up your intention, is what it sounds like a lot.
Yeah. And Jonathan is going all in on YouTube videos. Like, we're trying to just massively bring value. And, honestly, from a business perspective, you never know what's going to be a revenue source. YouTube, maybe, at some point, like, and it's just, we are trying our best to lead from the front. Mm-hmm. It's, we could have been content with our 2 podcasts a week and getting all these downloads and, just let the team, we'll figure it out, but in any crisis, you should look right in the mirror and say, I am not going quietly into the night. Yeah. I'm a business owner. I have responsibility. I have responsibility to my audience, my people, my community, my team, and I am not going quietly. And I looked over at Jocelyn. And I said those exact words to her at right around the end of March. I said, we are not going quietly into the night. The economy may shut down, but we're not. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the power is of becoming and staying self-employed. Like, I think that's. I always struggle with this because I don't want to ever make anyone feel bad, but I don't see a path to true independence and freedom without at least having go screw yourself money. Like, you got to have at least some kind of side income or something that allows you not to
roll over for anybody in the world, whether that's an employer or anybody else, right? And people like us who do have their own business. Hey, things suck sometimes in business, y'all. We're going to get real here. Like I'm telling you right now, there's always ups, there's always downs, and everything doesn't go perfect all the time. But even in a catastrophe, at least you've got the chance to roll up your sleeves. Unlike 40 million people who someone told them to go home and they can't choose what to do. You know what I mean? And I love hearing that, man. I love hearing. What sparked the advertising discussion? Was there like a dip in revenue somewhere, or is it?
Yeah,
like I say, podcasts got affected big time because people stopped driving.
That's very true.
There was a lot of different things happening in the podcast world during this. We had to revamp and do more social, do more emailing to get our audience engaged because the podcast, they were like, I'm not at the gym. Yeah. Where am I going to listen to this? You know?
Yeah. And I'm sorry, that was the missing piece. So I probably should have said this 15 minutes ago, but yeah, I mean, in a time of uncertainty, advertising dollars and affiliate dollars, they dry up to a large degree. And that doesn't mean that every program certainly shuttered, but many of the big ones that we relied on, the credit card companies, again, it's a period of uncertainty, right? I can understand from their perspective. They don't want to take on new clients when they don't know if those
people are grabbing credit cards because they don't have any money.
Exactly. Right.
Are they going to be able to pay it back? Like
that has dollars written all over it, and that's not healthy. So anyway, lots of advertising dollars dried up. So I mean, I think at the lowest we dropped probably 90% of our revenue based essentially overnight.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Hey, didn't you write me about it about 2 years ago? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
something similar happened before, and we were talking. Me and you were talking through it one night.
You're right.
Years ago, though.
Amazing memory. That was probably 4 years ago at this point.
Yeah, I remember everything was rolling, and I got a Facebook message. You were like, "Bro, can we talk?"
Yeah.
Like something went down, and something happened, and we were
and you
brainstorming ideas.
You helped dramatically, and a lot of that came back to then connection. Like I was able to hustle. Like I made connections with people who ultimately like started up affiliate programs, which was wild.
Wow.
And you just, it's not like a obstinate, like can't take no for an answer, but man, you can always build relationships. You always can. And that drives everything. It just does in life. People want to help people they know, like, and trust. And I mean, Shane, that's encapsulated our entire hour here, right? Like it comes back to knowing, liking, and trusting. Yeah. And people can sense when somebody's in it for the right reason, and there's going to be something mutually beneficial that you're going to get out of it, even just friendship, right? Like that.
Yeah, for sure.
There's so, and I don't mean even just, because that's probably the most important thing, but it's staggering how important relationships are.
Yeah, that's how you survive crises, really. And that's really something I wanted to ask, to actually bring up here real quick. I know we're coming up here, and we've both got podcast. We're this is podcast day for me and Brad. So we're just podcasting and talking all day. But I wonder why you have not started a membership community now here, and I want to just give some context to this, especially in your case, okay? Because one of the things that happened in our business, and this is not to brag or anything, like our business grew during the coronavirus pandemic. It was a lot of effort. Like we did things too. Like I did a bunch of free promotions to get a flood of new members in. We went to weekly member calls. Like we did the same thing. We ramped things up, and we were able to grow month after month because of this. But I don't think it was because we were so genius and spectacular, right? I think it was because we have this amazing relationship with our audience and our community, those people, right? And we were able to reach out across the entire span of our audience, every U.S. state, all over the world, and say, hey, let's unite together, let's come in. And we didn't even see a cancellation problem. So it wasn't just new members, right? It was the people who were with us, were spread out everywhere. So coronavirus wasn't affecting one state like another state. And maybe there was a dip in some people in New York, but there wasn't in Nebraska and all this, right? And that kind of, we call it the floor, right? Like our goal in our business is, some people are like, we're going to grow to $30 million, right? No, our goal is to keep our floor above everyone else's ceiling. And that's how a person to person membership relationship, like you pay us $19 a month. we serve you in X, Y, and Z way is so much safer than these corporate relationships, right? Because you may have 1,000 people clicking on a link in a corporate relationship through an affiliate program, but that you still have a bottleneck of risk of the one affiliate moving away, right? But for us, it's like if you have 1,000 people spread out over the whole world, as an example, you may lose 100 of them, but your points of risk are spread farther. And you still got 900 of them, right? That weren't affected by whatever was happening. And I don't know what it looks like, and I don't know why you haven't done it yet. Maybe we could speak to that more than we could maybe we could talk a little bit about what it looks like. But I'm thinking with that size of an audience, look, you've got 1,000 people that'll pay $19 a month for something, and that would create a floor of 20 grand in the business. So when catastrophe happens, our floor pays our employees and us, and our floor gives us a little breathing room to make those decisions. And that's how we view our business: is what's the floor, right? What's the worst case scenario for real? And we know our numbers, so we know that that's true. So I guess my question is, why haven't you guys went down that road? And two, have you thought about it and what that could look like?
Yeah. So it is funny that this has happened now twice in the last 5 years that we've had this conversation. But obviously we're in a much stronger position now.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I think the honest answer is, when things are working so well, it's hard to think more broadly like that, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it type scenario. But I don't think we fully realize the scope and scale of the potential risk. I mean, I think that's the honest answer. Like, we're kind of, again, we did disaster planning. We're finance people. We were thinking about this stuff, but I don't think we envisioned this type of scenario, and obviously to our great detriment. And I think we probably talked about this the last time we had the conversation. Is like, I've never wanted to have something paid this is a limiting belief. It sounds stupid when I'm saying the words even out of my mouth, but like, if people could get something for free and it could be a win-win. That was always how I conceptualize business. But I think that's naive. I think it's when, again, you're creating these communities and you're providing then massive value that maybe you couldn't provide if you weren't getting the revenue to pay for it. So again, I think it's more just a limiting belief in my own head, and in conjunction with things were working just so exceptionally well.
Oh, sure.
That it was hard to pivot at that point. But frankly, like, and we talked about this before we hit record on this, like, maybe it is time to consider this, and I'd love to, maybe I could be a case study on,
heck yeah.
It could be time number 4 on the podcast.
Well, yeah. I think there's a lot of massive, like, it's like, this is the example I've used lately. Disney makes a ton of money on movies and Disneyland and the parks. But like, there's a reason they have Disney Plus, is because now they've got this massive spread of risk over 40 million people paying $6 a month or whatever, right? And like, adding a membership to something that's working really, really well is really, really good, right? I think when this podcast airs, like, even Pat Flynn, like, I've been talking to Pat about this for a while. They just launched their own monthly membership. It's called SBI Pro. I'm hoping that this isn't coming out for a few weeks. So I'm hoping I didn't just preempting
spill the beans here.
Yeah, right. But like that, even he with courses and affiliates and the thing, like, it's like that, the revenue stream is affiliates. And even though it feels like you got 20 affiliates, you got one revenue stream, right? But a membership, what is different about it is you've got the membership, but really your revenue stream is however many members you've got. Like, you've got 1,000 people paying you, like, every month. Like, even if half of them quit, as long as you plan your business right, you're going to be okay. You know what I mean? And I think you've got some built-in things that you guys are not seeing, like facilitating those groups a little more. You said something like, oh, this is them doing that. I'm like, yeah, but I had table leaders at my live event, but I facilitated a little bit and guided them, right? And I gave them the resources. Like, we gave them a shirt that showed they were a table leader. Like, we did some things for them, and we created ways to support that group, online, to help them manage those groups, or even like, man, like seriously, like an advanced training program. Like, you have the benefit that I have. I've literally helped thousands. I've seen 1,000 different membership, 4,000 memberships, everything from raising chickens to teaching finance, so like when someone has a question or they need a path, they need a lantern holder for the road, of course I'm going to be able to give that to them, just through that wisdom and experience. And, with an email list and an audience of that size, like there's 1,000 people sitting there that would love to have more access to Brad and Jonathan. And it's not like you got to put like a ton of live work into this. Like our core value is batch what you can scale. So like we do a couple Q&As a month. We have a path. We think a lot about the path that people follow, and we constantly refine that. I hire community managers. We just did a data meeting yesterday, and nobody went over 28 hours without an answer to a question in our community over the past 2 months or 3 months. So we've got these resources in place. I'm providing better service, right? Our goal is to have 24 hours chat support in the community. We're going to hire shifts, like 2 people working every 8 hours, constantly 24 hours. We're going to hire people in Australia, so we got that side of the world covered. People in America, but like these are the resources that people do want to go to the next level of. And here's one more thing on limiting beliefs that I think would really help, especially you and Jonathan do this because of the position you're in. You are actually hurting members of your community by not offering this, because we talked earlier about how few people actually succeed. Well, guess what? People who pay attention. And if you can get people to invest in your program and you can get people to invest in your membership, they're actually investing in themselves. And no matter what you charge for that, if you create financial independence for somebody, like for $50 a month or $20 a month, you have 2 tiers. $29 a month and $49 a month, and figure out what it looks like. You're going to magnify your influence, and you're going to help more people in your audience actually get to where you go. So I really think that, I always think this, but the membership, man, like could be an amazing compliment to you guys. It's going to give you the heartbeat of your audience like nothing else will. So you'll actually understand the questions that people are personally asking on your podcast and stuff. But it could be an amazing benefit to you guys also too, to just, hey man, stabilize the business, pay those people, and provide more resources. It'll magnify the mission if you do it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, to be continued.
To be continued. Well, listen, man, we will pick another time, and me and you will jam privately on a game plan. We'll get Jonathan on there, and we'll freaking figure this out. You know what I'm saying? Because the Choose FI community needs a community they can join. And but I really appreciate your story, man. And it's amazing. I talk about you like every chance I get. You're still I've still got pictures of you on the website. And because every day, man, I think about helping people. I think about you picking your kids up off the bus. So congratulations on all your success, man. It's absolutely impressive.
Thank you, buddy. And you and Jocelyn have just been amazing resources for me and my family and so many families out there. So obviously a huge heartfelt thank you to you guys.
Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast with Brad Barrett. I hope that you learned as much as I did from our conversation about what is possible if you will just take action. I mean, Brad went out, he was an accountant working on the books for, in the corporate office, and he goes out and he builds Richmond Savers. He builds this business, and then he has setbacks, but he comes back and he ends up quitting his job, later on and becoming financially independent and doing his own thing. And then he goes on a podcast, he throws his stone again, and some random person hears it that they get together. And then 3 months later, they start a podcast, and now they've got a worldwide amazing community that they serve online. And you could do the same. You just have to keep taking the next step. We want to help you identify and take your next step in your online journey inside of the Flip Your Life community. We would love to give you 30 days free so you can walk the same path that Brad walked to start his online business as well. All you have to do is go to flippedlifestyle.com/free. That's FLIPPED lifestyle.com/free. And you can start your 30-day trial today. All right, guys, that is all the time we have for this week. But before we go, we like to close every one of our shows with a Bible verse. Jocelyn and I get a lot of our inspiration and motivation from the Bible, and we think there are some powerful verses that can give you the same thing. Today's verse comes from Proverbs chapter 13, verse 11. The Bible says, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers it little by little will increase it." And I thought about that when Brad was talking about, we want to get rich. It's not get rich quickly. It's get rich slowly. We want to be the glacier, not the prairie fire. We want to build our business brick by brick, step by step, so that what we build will last. And that's what we do here on the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. That's what we do inside of the Flip Your Life community. And that's what we want you to do. Thank you so much for listening today. Until next time, get out there, take action, and do whatever it takes to flip your life. We'll see you then.
Bye. We know you are all going to love. No. All right, I'm going to read through that whole thing again. And I'm going to put this more in the middle. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Let me start again.
One more thing before we go. Thank you so much for listening to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. If you love the Flip Lifestyle Podcast, if we bring a little joy and a little happiness and we bring some knowledge into your life every single week, could you do us a favor? Go to Apple Podcast and hit subscribe. Download a few of the podcast episodes onto your phone. Apple's algorithm loves seeing downloads and it loves seeing those subscribes. And please leave us an honest review over on Apple Podcast. That'll help us grow the show, expand the mission, and reach more people so that we can help them change their family's future as well. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.